Okay, welcome everybody. Baruch Hashem, we are here at Living Chassidus with another incredible, I guess we'll call this life skill series. This is really life skills in such a deep and also very practical way. Today we have the great zchus of having Rabbi Shmuly Rothman, who has been such an incredible guiding light for my husband and I, and has helped us have clarity of how to grow and move forward with Living Chassidus in many, many areas. And one of them is in regards to fundraising. And Baruch Hashem, he's a fundraising coach and also was on, from what I understand, was on shlichus and different locations, ran a camp. And now he teaches and coaches tons of incredible shluchim who have now also been a part of my husband's friend circle. So it's all thanks to him that we're connected and with all these cool people. So that is the extent of my introduction. You can add to it, Rabbi Rothman.
That's very good. As long as your husband has cool friends, we're in good shape.
There you go. Perfect. Okay, good.
Right.
So on the mic's all yours.
Thank you. So I'll take it from here. I'm going to invite everybody to engage to the extent that you'd like. Chat box, microphone. The crowd is not overwhelmingly large just yet, so we can keep it hamish, and feel free to interact. My goal for this evening is to leave you thinking positive about your ability to make massive good happen for the campaign next week. That's not a properly structured English sentence, so forgive me. That one we're going to let it fly. It's been a great honor and pleasure on my end to have met and interact with Rabbi and Rebbetzin Weiss. And I'm actually a big fan of what Living Chassidus does. When the Rabbi and I talk, I'm constantly challenging him to apply the name of his organization to the conversations he and I have, because Living Chassidus means living a tefachacha, living a couple steps above where the world wants us to be. Just this afternoon, I was talking to Shliach, who's going through a tough struggle. And I reminded him of a truth that we know, the Yad HaChasidim al Ha'Olyona, which is something the Alter Rebbe told the Chassidim, that the hands of the Chassidim will they'll always have the upper hand. And it came to me as we were talking, I said to this Shliach, said part of what that means perhaps is the hand of the chassid has to be al Olyona, taking the high road. That because we have the upper hand, we have to take the upper road. And taking the upper road is not always easy, especially when we face significant challenges. In the context of a campaign, taking the upper road is allowing myself to accept the messages that the campaign is set up to be a success. It will be a success. I'm going to have a good time interacting with people when I talk about the campaign, and they're going to have a good time talking to me. Whether or not they'll give, how much they give, is really not my business. It's the Eibusher's business. The only thing that's my business is to show up, be the best me, or at least the pretty good me in this moment, and put forth a positive message to allow Hashem's bracha to manifest itself through that effort. In today's Hayom Yom for Adar Beis, the Rebbe talks about if you don't prepare the field, then all the rains in the world won't help the product grow. Preparing the field, perhaps when it comes to the campaign, is getting ourselves into this really, really positive Living Chassidus mindset. And a few people talk about this. A lot of people talk about the strategy and the words and all that good stuff. We'll get to that as well. But the plowing the field and getting the field ready is taking what I know about tracht gut vet sein gut, about thinking positive, and picturing whether I'm sending a text message to a friend, whether I'm calling somebody, whether I'm putting something on social media, or whatever medium you're going to use to get the messages of the campaign out there, is establishing myself first, picturing positivity. Now, what's a positive outcome? What's a negative outcome? If I had to know, I would know. But the one thing that I know for sure is, when campaigns are launched, there's usually the directors of the campaign have this like funny pit in their feeling. What if this campaign fails? What if we don't get to all the money that we need? And the word failure is such a beautiful Chassidish Yetzer Hara wrapped in the holiest garb comment. And it absolutely comes from some strange place of Tumah, because failure, according to Torah, means either I never tried or I stopped trying. That's what failure means. When I do something, I had a roommate in yeshiva who used to get a lot of heat for just doing things that nobody else did. And I asked him one day, I said, Remy, how do you deal with it? How do you deal with all, the Bachrim, they just rip on you. They're constantly harassing you for getting out there and doing new things. And he said to me, Shmuly, people who do nothing make no mistakes. People who do nothing make no mistakes. And nobody will ever criticize them and nobody will ever pick on them because they're busy doing nothing. When you get out there and you challenge the status quo, when you get out there and you say, I'm going to show up for Living Chassidus and I'm going to be the ambassador, I'm going to be the one who's going to share the message with family, friends, community, and tell them that there absolutely exists an organization that I belong to, I look forward to participating with, I learn from them, I gain from them, and however you're going to present it, you're going to run into two possibilities amongst some others. One of them might be, I love it. I'm so glad you called. Thank you for letting me know. Of course I want to get involved. That's a sweet story we all want. There is also a possibility of somebody saying, thanks for calling, it's not for me. Or thanks for calling, you're the 27,000 phone call I got this week or today for another campaign, and I just can't keep up with it. So good luck. But I mean, if you want, I can give you $10, but I can't. You never know what you're going to run into. The failure of a campaign is the campaign that never gets started. Chassidus teaches us, like Nachshon ben Aminadav, you jump, you take the jump. Nachshon had no idea how the sea would part, when it would happen, if it would happen. There was a command to go. Why is Living Chassidus having a campaign right now? Because Living Chassidus can't live without fuel. There's nothing complicated about this. I don't know all the inner workings of what they do, but I do know it costs money. And that's not a surprise to anybody. And the young ladies who come and benefit from the organization know firsthand how much it means to them. So anybody I talk to about the campaign during is it a 48-hour campaign? What is it? Right, during the 48 hours of the campaign, anybody I talk to, it's an opportunity for me to share with them that Rabbi and Rebbetzin Weiss have chosen to split a sea for us that nobody split yet. Since God created the world, nobody showed up to put this organization in place, and I'm here right now, and I'm benefiting, and I like it, and I want to see more of it for me, for other young ladies that will come after me. That is such an attractive message. I'm not telling anybody what they need to do. I'm not demanding from anybody to do anything. I'm sharing my story and why I'm excited about it. And people feel themselves pulled towards that. So we kind of want to brace ourselves. We're going to be the ambassadors. What kind of mindset do I need to be in to be able to positively reach out to another person and another person and another person, not knowing how it's going to work? So a couple ideas, and please, this is meant to be helpful. So if I'm boring you, tell me and we'll change the channel. If you have any questions or I could be more productive, please do either take the mic or use the chat box. I have the chat box open on my end, and I will either answer it on the spot or make note of it and come back to it. So let's take a look at a couple get in the right headspace kind of things. Typically with fundraising through the eyes of Chassidus, and I think the Rebbetzin said it before in her introduction, fundraising through the eyes of Chassidus is, the Rambam refers to it as Mezakeas Harabim. When you help somebody else give tzedakah, you give them a bracha. You stop somebody on the street and give them neshek, Shabbos candles, you're giving them a bracha. Nobody ever says, could you light Shabbos candles for me? Nobody gets personally offended if, hopefully not too many people, but if you stop a Jew that you never met before, you don't even know if they're Jewish, but you find out that they're Jewish and you say, would you like Shabbos candles? And they say, no, not really, I'm good. And they keep walking. Most people don't take that as a, oh, that was crushing, get knocked out and they have to whimper away. Some people do, and I understand some people are built for the more from the same, less, but in general, the concept is, I asked you a question, you shared with me your preference, and I'm on to the next person. For some reason, when it comes to tzedakah, the Yetzer Hara knows very well that Gedolei tzedakah shemekareves es hageulah, tzedakah is so huge that it could bring Mashiach. The Yetzer Hara knows that tzedakah tatzon limaves, tzedakah could save somebody from death, and not too many mitzvahs have that. So the Yetzer Hara knows that, so he comes up with these really clever ideas to confuse us and stop us from going there. So when I look at it, in today's Tanya, I heard a beautiful story today in learning Tanya Chitas with Rabbi Josh Gordon, alav shalom, where he said that the job of the Yetzer Hara is to create resistance. Why? And he told the mashal that Rebbe in the 1960s, when working out in gyms became a thing in the United States, the Rebbe spoke about and said there's an interesting phenomenon. You have very wealthy people who will hire people to schlep their bags, drive their cars, polish their shoes, and yet they'll go to a gym, they'll pay to go to a gym and work out. Why bother going to the gym? Schlep your own bags and just take care of your body. Why do you have to go there? And the Rebbe explained that in a gym, when you have weights, there's resistance. And if you're not pushing against something that's resisting, that's pushing against you, if you don't have that counter force, you're not going to have growth. When does the Yetzer Hara wake up? The evening before or the morning of a campaign. To give us resistance, to say, I know what you're about to do here. I know you're about to go raise $180,000 plus Eretz Hashem. And when you do that, Rabbi and Rebbetzin Weiss will have all the resources, not all of them, but some of the resources. When we get to 180 million, we can talk about all the resources. But they'll definitely have a chunk of cash to be able to give shiurim and have Shabbosim and Yom Tovim and all the other stuff that I'm not aware of. So the Yetzer Hara says, let me get into that person's head and chase them away. What happens? Right away, it's all well, what if they don't pick up? Or what if they tell me this? What if they tell me that? So we go back to, you know what? There's a certain lesson we learn from Tanya. When you hear the Yetzer Hara just beginning, we look at him and say, I hear you, I see you, I smell you, you don't smell good today. Go over there, I designated a seat for you, have a seat and leave me alone. If I don't give him some empathy, if I don't recognize him, if I don't validate him, he's gonna keep roaring at me and distract me. If I tell him, I see you, thanks for coming, and I have a seat for you, and it's not in my seat. It kind of like, the Yetzer Hara says, okay, I tried, and she's smarter than me, and kind of whimpers off to his corner, and you're out there roaring. So that's one concept I'm going to encourage you to come back to. If you feel any hesitancy, and I deal with this all the time, I'm blessed to Farbrengen with shluchim about fundraising just about every day, and the most common thing I hear is, I was about to make the calls, but then I got busy. Then I got busy is code language for, I'm afraid of finding out what I don't know. Like one shliach told me a cute story the other day. He said, there was this guy looking frantically for a piece of paper, and he's looking in all of his pockets, and he's going again and again to his pants pocket, his front pocket, the back pocket, his jacket pockets. His friend comes to him and says, did you look for it in your shirt pocket? He said, no. So why not? Because that's where I put it. And if it's not there, I'm erst in trouble. So he doesn't want to find out. He doesn't want to find out that he's in trouble, so he doesn't look there. The human being craves certainty. We crave certainty. We don't like going into the unknown. So I'm going to pick up a phone and say, hi, friend. Do you have a minute to have a conversation about a great tzedakah cause? Yes. Oh, okay, past that hurdle. And then it's, thanks for taking my call. I'm calling on behalf of Living Chassidus. Have you heard of them? No, not really. Well, do you have a second? Can I tell you? Sure. Oh, okay. So I keep throwing in little questions to find out, do they want to go further? And I contrast that to, hi, I'm calling from Living Chassidus. Wow, click. Like, do you have a minute? No, you're calling at bedtime. I can't really talk now. If I don't stop to ask a question to engage them, like they're not even hearing me, and I'm like 3 pages into my script, and like, I'm sorry, who are you calling for? What's this about? But when I'm calm and I'm relaxed and I'm okay, I'm comfortable in my own skin, putting a great opportunity out there, then I can shift my nerves about how they'll respond to me into curiosity. Curiosity, nerves is Yetzer Hara, curiosity is emunah and bitachon. I don't know, but God says you don't need to know. You don't need to know. You didn't know what gender you would be before you were born. You didn't know who your parents would be before you were born. For those who are married, we didn't know who our spouse would be before we went on a date. We don't need to know. Life comes to us as we go. We need to trust in the Eibishter that'll guide us in the right directions, and that's where our positive energy allows us to go out and explore. How many people have such anxiety attacks when they go hiking because I don't know what's around the next bend. So if I don't know what's around the next bend, maybe I shouldn't even get on the hiking trail. Or others say, this is a national park and there are park rangers and I don't need to know, I just need to follow the trail, and there might be a squirrel, there might be a raccoon, there might be a tree, there might be a berry. I don't know, but let's go explore. So who's going to pick up the phone? How will they respond? I don't know. Let me get comfortable not knowing, because the one who needs to know knows. That's the Eibishter. So that's a little bit of a, how do I get myself into the zone? Add to that the Tracht Gut, and I am now predicting what's going to happen. So here's a little bit of Shara B'tachon 101 for you. If I think to myself, oh, they'll never pick up, Hashem says, you're absolutely right. And then Hashem says, I'm going to go to the person who says, oh, I'm sure it's going to be a positive experience. And Hashem says, I'm going to make it a positive experience for them. It's a phenomenal concept that it's a lifelong avodah, and it's a muscle that has to be exercised every single day. Me knowing that my thought process will bring the result. Hashem honors the thought process. Anytime I say, it's never going to work, Hashem says, you're right. Okay, I'll go to the person who says, oh, I'm excited to see what happens. Can I predict it's going to work the way I want? It's not my business. But when I say it's not going to work, it's so edel how powerful my thought is. And it's good to know that I don't want to be the one convincing the Eibishter not to look my direction. But Hashem clearly says, and we learned this in Shara B'tachon, I will spend my time making the brachas work for those who believe it's going to work. And even when they don't see the bracha happening in that moment, doesn't mean the bracha is not there. I just learned this past week an incredible piece of Shara B'tachon where the author says, and when it looks like you failed, that's no reason to stop trusting in Hashem. It doesn't mean Hashem doesn't already have it for you. You just aren't seeing it yet. So we bring all of this together, kind of give myself a little bit of a pep talk, and then I go do what most people in the world refuse to do. Most people in the world are happy handing out pushkas and handing out cookies and giving out challahs and delivering shalach manos. Most people in the world will not say to somebody, would you like to give tzedakah to me? And there's a lot of reason. Hold on, let me just turn. Can that be muted? Mrs. Weiss, do you have the controls to do that? I don't know if she's aware that she's broadcasting.
Yeah, I'm working on muting right now.
Okay. As the host, I think you should be able to click on that user and I think maybe. There you go. Okay, thank you. And that's not to say we don't want to hear from you. If you have a question, definitely turn on the mic and we'll chat. So coming back to the point here, I want to shift for a second. Here's something that I've heard from quite a number of people that helps them in their mindset and how they're approaching this. Typically, you know, if somebody thinks of a campaign where I'm the needy person and I have to go ask people to help me, that's a pretty yucky place to be. I don't ever want to be needing anybody else to help me. When I look at myself as a shlucha, an ambassador to help connect this person's money, this person's gifts from Hashem with this organization, bring them together, then I'm the shadchanis, I'm the blessed person who brings mitzvahs to the people that have the money and brings fuel to the organization that needs it. Going out to look for it could be nerve-wracking. We give the mashal of somebody going out to sea in a fishing boat. So if you go out in a fishing boat to sea, so you trust in Hashem that you're going to catch some fish and then sell it and bring some fish home for Shabbos. If your wife likes raw fish in the house or not, you'll figure that out. Or in your case, is your spouse or your husband to be. But it's a nerve-wracking job because unless you're on near Clearwater, Florida, where you can actually look into the water and see the seabed, most places in the world where you go fishing, you can't see what's under the water. So it's an act of blind faith. And will there be a storm while I'm out at sea? I have no idea. And there's no guarantees. That's how most people look at fundraising. Here we look at it a little bit differently. Here we say there's a lighthouse. A lighthouse stands on shore ground at the edge of the water. The lighthouse never moves. It shines the light of Torah, of Yiddishkeit, of Rebbe, of Mashiach, of Geula. It shines that light out. And like we're taught in Chassidus, light attracts. So I live in Boynton Beach, Florida, not far from Miami, about 50 miles. On the weekends, you can see on the ocean, if you're close enough, all the ocean liners, all the yachts that went out on whatever it was, Tuesday, Wednesday, they come back on Sunday evenings. The lighthouse is attracting all those big yachts with all the big millionaires. The point of attraction is the lighthouse. We see ourselves as lighthouses. My reaching out to somebody else is shining the light of Torah, mitzvah, Yiddishkeit, and they're attracted to it. They're attracted to my passion. They're attracted to my positivity. They're attracted to my goodwill and desire to make something good happen here for Living Chassidus and all the participants, which, truth to be told, every single member of the Crown Heights Shchuna is blessed by the fact that Living Chassidus exists in Crown Heights. Because the Rebbe talks about this in the Shliach and the Shluchah move out to community, even before they ever meet a Jew there. Just the fact that they're there, living in that space, elevates the energy of that place. So think of this, Crown Heights is a beautiful community, a very kind and giving and generous community. And the Weisses have set up their Chabad house for the clientele that needs and wants and appreciates everybody living in the Shechona, including East Flatbush, and spilling into other neighborhoods around. They're all positively impacted by the goodness that happens over here. So when I get on the phone, who am I representing? I'm representing the extension of the Lubavitcher Rebbe for our group of young ladies. And how cool is that? So when I get on the phone and I take a deep breath and I think to myself, what am I about to do? I'm about to give somebody the schus to give tzedakah. That's the big thumbs up for them. I'm about to have a chance to talk about an organization that I am passionate about and I care about and I enjoy and I support, whether it's with my money, whether it's with my time, whether I volunteer, but I support myself. I'm not calling as just somebody who takes. I'm talking to somebody who's involved. You call people you know, you call people you don't know, and you say to them, hi, my name is Shmuela, that the female version of Shmuly, whatever it might be. My name is, Zelda, whoever, and I'm calling from, do you have a moment for a tzedakah conversation? They say, yes. What's this about? Well, actually, there's a great organization that I benefit tremendously from in Crown Heights for young ladies post-seminary, and I want to help them continue being here for me. I want to help them continue succeeding. I want to help more girls, more young ladies benefit like I'm benefiting. And I'm calling family and friends and Chabad families or beyond that I know of or I've heard of to say, would you like to participate with a gift so that you could feel the same pride I have when you hear about the good things happening at Living Chassidus? Think about the language for a second. I know this is being recorded and maybe you'll be able to type it up and play with the language yourself. But think about that language. What does it do for you? Is that a never I should have some Rahmanas on this. I'm glad she's calling people, not me. So I'll pay her $10 to let her know that I'm glad I don't have to do it. Is it that, or is it, wow, she sounds sincere. She sounds positive. I don't know what Living Chassidus is, but it's doing something really good for her. People are attracted to the light that you give off. So when you feel like you're giving them a schus, they're going to feel the same thing. And that's the truth. It's hard to remember the truth when, if they say, no, I might get hurt. And I'm going to talk about that for a second because I think there's a way to avoid that. So it's hard to move past that if I do run into a no. But even if I run into a no, the no might be, I wish I could help out more significantly. Unfortunately, I can't. And that's an opportunity for me to say, this is a really nice conversation. I'm really glad you picked up the phone. And can you give us a blessing? Can you give us your bracha to succeed? And watch how they melt into your hand. It may not mean they have more cash to give, but I'm not calling to say you have something and I need it. And if you can't give it to me, this is bad. I'm calling to say I'm an ambassador. I'm a lighthouse. No matter where this conversation goes, I'm going to give you. I'm going to give you positivity. I may give you a chance to give tzedakah. And if you can't do that, I'm going to give you a chance to give us a bracha. You know what happens in the heart and soul of a Jew when you ask them to give you a bracha? They feel good. They become the mashpia. And when they hang up the phone, what's left in their head is, interesting. I don't remember the last time somebody gave me the opportunity to give them a bracha. Now you see it on people's birthdays, they give brachas and shul on Yom Tov and Erev Yom Tov. Everybody's, WhatsApping each other, good Yom Tov, good Shabbos. But how often do we get to actually say to somebody? I led a Farbrengen in honor of Chav Beis Shvat for a group of Masifta boys in one of the Masiftas in Toronto. And before every niggin and after every niggin, I told the boys, turn to the person sitting next to you and look at them and say L'chaim and wish them well. And the first time I did it, they looked at each other so awkward, like we know each other. Like we're 40 guys. We're in the same dorms together. We learn together. But to actually look at each other in the eye and give a bracha, 2-3 times in, you saw the smiles. You saw how good they felt to give the bracha and how good to receive it. I'm going to pause and answer Gula's question over here. What if they sound upset? You ask them to give you a bracha? It's a great question. So let me ask you, just because I'm paid to say this, not really, nobody's paying me, but just because I'm paid to say this, what if they sound ecstatic? And the reason why I asked that question is the brain is going to take you, the Yitzhahara brain is going to start asking you all the what if towards a negative outcome questions. So just allow yourself that as you put that question here, and I will answer it, but as you put that question, I'm going to challenge you. Gula, I don't know who you are, so hope you accept the challenge. Type a question that comes from like the really great high-end Yetzer Toiv side of the unknown as well, and allow yourself to play with that as you step into the campaign. I'm gonna present a sample conversation, which will prevent you from ever getting to them being upset, and then I'll answer your question. And Rebbitzin, maybe we can work on a script after this that can some of the format for whoever's making the calls. Hi, this is Shmuly calling from Living Chassidus. Do you have a minute for a tzedakah conversation? Right there, I'm identifying why I want to talk to you. That's called respect. Old-fashioned fundraisers say, "Oh, don't disclose why you're talking. Don't write a clear subject line in your email because they're going to see that and run the other way. You're going to chase them away before you have a chance to steal their wallet." But I'm not stealing anybody's wallet. I only want to do this if they have an interest in doing it. So do you have a minute for tzedakah-related conversation? Yidden are called goyim lechasodim. Jewish people are charitable. Most people in the world give tzedakah not from goyim, they give because they're asked, not because there's a relationship, and not because there's all sorts of reasons ways how to make somebody want to give more and get closer. But most people give because they're asked, period. And most people will say, why did I never give? Because nobody ever asked me. So before I say, could you help with tzedakah, I want to find out, would you like to talk about, hi, this is Shmuly calling from Living Chassidus. We're running a campaign. Do you have a minute for a tzedakah conversation? Sure. Most of us are wired to say yes to a question like that, but I haven't asked for money yet. So they're not going to get upset. Now they said yes, one yes primes for the next. If they can't talk now, they'll say, you know what, now's not a good time. Call me back later. Click. No harm done. Your job is to not decide that they don't like you. Your job is to mark it down, call this person back later. But let's say they let you, okay, yes, sure, go ahead, absolutely. Then you go into your little spiel. There's an organization in Crown Heights, Living Chassidus. I'm part of it. I benefit. They're having a campaign, and I'm reaching out to help them so that I can continue to benefit, and other young ladies can continue to benefit. Can I share a little more with you and ask you to participate. I still haven't asked for $1 yet. If I'm going to get a no, I'm going to get it at that point. I want to set it up in a way where it doesn't hurt to get the no. Because no's are not fun. And we're not going into a professional, lifelong fundraising training over here. There's all sorts of ways to explore the no and work with the no. And it's true, because no doesn't mean no. No means not now, not yet. I don't know enough. I picked up, even though I'm changing my baby's diaper and dinner's burning. I don't know why I answered the phone, but I did. And I just can't think straight. And that has nothing to do with you or Living Chassidus. It's Hashem set it up that they should pick up the phone and tell you, I can't talk. But it comes out as a no. So great. They didn't say never call back. I'll try them. Towards the end of the, if they haven't given, and it's 2 hours left to the campaign, I might try them again. So Gula, my point here is we're setting it up with, I call it soft questions to find, do I have permission to go further? Do I have permission to go further? On the lighter side, they say, how often does a young man and a young lady get into a car, and she's in the car because she wants to become a kala, he's in the car because he wants to become a chassan. They both know that, so he turns to her and says, should we go to the aisle? Like, why else would we be sitting next to each other in a car if we're not? Whoa, slow down, buddy. That's pretty creepy. What's your name? We have to find out, is there chemistry here? Do we want to see each other again? Of course we're in the car because I'm not 16 and you're 14. We're in the car because I want to be a chassan bacher and you want to be a kalamedo. Great, but we need to give each other some time. So we're not dating the person that we're calling. And maybe that's not exactly a perfect mashal, but the idea of, I'm going to soft step it a little bit. Do you want to? Would you like to? Can we? They say, yeah. And you'll be surprised. Why do people say yes? Because they love giving tzedakah, because they're Jewish. Long before you get to the fact that Lubavitchers and the Chassidim and their Bali tzedakah and their philanthropy, long before you get to that, why would they say yes? Because you're giving them a chance to do something good. Why do Jews do good? Because Hashem wired us that way. I'm going to pause for some air. Any questions, comments? Are we on the right track? Anything I could be more helpful with? Feel free to take the mic or chat box. Rebbitzin, you can give some feedback, whatever works. Should I just keep rambling? What do you want me to ramble about? I can go on for weeks.
Pardon the background noise, but I think we're doing great. I think you discussed a lot of the fears and how to get soft questions. Do you mind? I listened to one of your classes where you spoke about the Rabbi in Machne Yisrael and how the Rabbi was, in a certain sense, the biggest fundraiser of them all. And I feel like sometimes we see fundraising as like a negative taboo, whatever, and us as Chassidim, we can relate to it from a different perspective.
So you'd like me to elaborate on that?
If you could. I mean, they didn't hear your amazing share, so. With
pleasure. It's one of my favorite topics. Just a drop of background. My entry into the coaching world came after being on shlichus in 2 different places, making a lot of painful mistakes, and turning to my mashpia and asking him if I could learn from people who know how to do what I'm supposed to be doing, and they're doing it properly. I fired my head counselor the second night of camp, and it was a terrible mistake that I hired her. She wasn't the right person for the job. I was misled by people who I thought I trusted. I mean, I trusted them. I was misled anyway. And I had to sit down with the Rav and the Rebbitzin and figure out that camp was going to collapse if this went any farther. And I saw the pain that this young lady went through. And I saw the pain her mother went through. I paid her for the full summer because I wasn't going to let it go down as it was a money thing. But the next morning I went to my mashpia and I said, something's wrong here. I should have known what those red flags were, and I didn't. I pushed past them and I hurt this kid. She wasn't a kid, she was probably 19 at the time, but it was devastating for her. So he said, go. Said, as long as you don't dabble into theology, go ahead. So it started with communications, relationships, hiring, firing, running meisters, training people. And a lot of it was built around relationships. How to understand and interact with people, understand what people are saying, what they're not saying, and so on. Fast forward a couple of years, I get a call from Chabad on campus. They say, Shmuly, we need somebody else to join our coaching team. They had an incentive program where they, campus shluchim could get coaching. I said, so I don't know much about fundraising. I've been fundraising since I was 12 years old, fundraising for a bicycle for a Russian kid that needed a bris. There's always stuff that we were doing, but not proper. So I called one of my chaverim, Rabbi Elazar Green in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. I said, Elazar, what's the nature of it? He said, oh, it's all about communications and relationships. I said, oh, I know a little bit about that. So I guess we can take that and step into fundraising. So I've been blessed to be on a journey to learn from shluchim what stops them and what motivates them. And this piece right here, and this is what the Rebbitzon's talking about. This picture right here is more than anything else has played a significant role in helping shluchim. I got a bad angle with the reflection of the light. Right here, you see Rabbi Simcha Zurkin of Shalom standing next to a balabas, who is having a Machane Yisrael Yechidus with the Rebbe. Machane Yisrael was a group of Gvirim. I think at the time you had to give $100,000 over 5 years, which today is a joke, but this was in the late 80s probably, and it had a different value back then. But take a look at this picture, and what I imagine is happening here is this yid is having a soul, an absolute neshama connection with the Rebbe. The Rebbe is holding his hand and listening to him. Rabbi Zurkin is standing on the side, and in my estimation, you might suggest that Rabbi Zurkin, it's a combination of, feeling a privilege to bring this yid to the Rebbe, feeling, awestruck by being in the Rebbe's presence, a lot of gratitude that he was able to make this happen. Who's giving who in that picture? Is this Gvir giving the Rebbe something, or is the Rebbe giving the Gvir something? Is Rabbi Zurkin asking the Rebbe to do a favor and talk to this Gvir, or is Rabbi Zurkin giving this Gvir, this wealthy man, the greatest experience of his life and bringing him to that soul moment with the Rebbe? So in my conversations with shluchim every day, we talk about this. That's actually how I got to this picture. Me and one of the shluchim I work very closely with, we studied a whole bunch of these types of pictures to figure which one best explains what it is when we talk to a Jew and we ask them to give tzedakah, what is it that we're doing? And when we do that, you take it on from a very ruchnistic level that we could try and tap into on to some degree. When I call somebody and say, can you join and do this? I'm the Rabbi Zurkin. They're the Gvir, they're the Balabas. And by them giving tzedakah to Living Chassidus, which is the Rebbe's organization, carrying out the Rebbe's shlichus, I'm bringing them a soul connection with the Rebbe. Now, that may sound up there in seventh heaven, and maybe Rabbi Weiss will Farbrengen about it and bring it down into Living Chassidus terminology. But if you think about it in its most simplistic form, that's what I'm doing. And we live in a world where it's the Rebbe's world. More and more people amongst the family of Anash, amongst the family of yidden who are not yet openly connected with Lubavitch. They know about the Rebbe. They want to be connected with the Rebbe. They come to the oil, they daven, they learn Chassidus. So when I call and I introduce myself as somebody who is being inspired by the teachings of Chassidus, their neshama hears you say, this is a moment to connect with the Rebbe. And it's actually fascinating how much, wrong word, how dedicated, I'll play with the word in a second, but Lubavitchers, they can't get enough of connecting with the Rebbe. Some of them do it through their own davening and learning. Some of them do it by being on shlichus on their own. Some do it by funding organizations that do the work. And when we show up to I would say the holy and blessed community of Crown Heights, and you share with them another tzedakah opportunity, they're going to be very excited. They're going to be very excited because to them, this is part of my mission. This is part of my purpose. And when you call me and give me a chance to participate, I'm going to thank you. Which is always, it's always interesting. When I tell shluchim, they stick with this long enough and people are going to thank you for calling them. Like, why would they ever? Because they don't look at this as a bad thing. You're not a ganav, and they're very charitable. So when you show up to the home or to the phone of somebody who has what to give and you help them give, they say thank you to you. It's kind of like the way we talk about it in some of our conversations with the shluchim. Your average out-of-town kid knows where Sweet Expression is. And I don't know if they know the Troy Avenue Sweet Expression, but they know Kingston and Union. And when they come back for the next trip, they want to go back to Sweet Expression. Why? Because it left a great taste in their mouth. Why they appreciate an ice cream in sub-degree weather in middle of February, I don't know, but it's still, they appreciate that flavor. They're going to come back for it again. When a yid gives tzedakah, and you may know this from your own tzedakah giving, whether it's a nickel, a dollar, sometimes even larger, you know what that does right here. Hashem wired us that if I take things for myself, I feel yucky. If I give things to others, I feel good. I feel positive. I feel generous. I feel full. I don't want to use the word fulfilled, but to a degree, I feel fulfilled. Because what did Hashem put me here? Hashem put me here because I'm needed to do something. I don't need anything. Hashem put me here because I'm needed to get a job done. And when I'm able to help somebody else have a better day, and that's exactly how people look at it when I call them for tzedakah. They're going to feel good that they gave, and I had the supposed to give them that opportunity. Rabbi, does that do justice? Does that touch upon it at all?
Yes, that was awesome. And I want to share that every single one of the matchers, the donors who are matching for this campaign, have thanked us for the opportunity or thanked us for the great schos. And I honestly, I didn't think that was possible until we got more training from you, and we changed our bitachon, like we added to our bitachon, we changed our trachgud and zaygud mindset to look at the conversation from a positive and come into the conversation from a positive perspective. And I think that opened us to be able to see how grateful these people are to be able to be a part of Living Chassidus. So that's intense avodah. That's really intense avodah. And you may recall where your mindset was the first time you and your husband spoke. You may recall all the what ifs and all the I can't believe that anybody would ever think that way conversation. And it's a big bracha for all the participants that you've chosen to follow through with the avodah and open up the brachas. That's great. I'm gonna answer this question. Someone wants to know. Is that like asking for a friend? Question: what do you think of contacting someone who has given to you a lot, and it feels hard to ask them to give to an organization because you feel like they're giving you more? Okay, fair question. Fair question. On the way home from shul tonight, I asked my children and my nephew, I said, what should I talk about tonight on the Zoom? They said, well, what's the topic? I said, fundraising. So my kids started putting on this whole skit because they know my lines, Baruch Hashem. And what my nephew said was, oh, I could fundraise for anybody all the time, but for myself, I would never. So what I'm understanding from the question is, it feels hard to ask them to give an organization because you feel like they're giving you. Feelings are important, but they don't always give us an accurate read on reality. If I feel that, if I'm feeling bad about it, chances are I'm not going to do the ask anyway. The question becomes, can I present it? Can I craft the words? Can I craft the message in a way where I'm making it clear what this is? So let's play it out for a second. I'm calling somebody who has helped me personally in the past. They bought me a suit and a hat and shoes for Yom Tov because they saw me walking on Kingston and they saw I looked a little bit, schleppy, and they said, "Oh, let me outfit you. Here's $500. All right."
So now I feel indebted to that person. And now somebody calls me and then I call them back and say, hey, thank you for what you did for me. I'm calling on behalf of Living Chassidus. Can I share a giving opportunity for you to help the organization? If I started with thank you for what you've done for me, and then I moved to would you welcome a conversation about another type of giving? That usually clarifies to the person, not only are you not asking for yourself, you're being very godly and you're helping them do another mitzvah for an organization that you care about. I was at an event, it's Thursday, Tuesday night, there was an event in South Florida in Aventura called Yaldei Shluchei Rebbe. It's a wonderful organization that raises money for children of shluchim that have special needs, medical needs, emotional challenges, and so on. And they do an event in Crown Heights, I think, in the summer, in South Florida in the New York winter. We don't really get winter down here. And I met somebody there towards the end of the event who I hadn't seen in probably close to 30 years. He was a childhood friend from Morristown, New Jersey. And after the hug and the schmooze and the kibbutz, and we're walking out, and I understood from him, because he shared with me that he owns a company in Taiwan and they import cosmetics to Walmart and to Target and Nordstrom. I understood that he's a man of means. Now, I don't have an organization that I fundraise for, but Hashem is constantly sending opportunities my direction for people who need different things. And I try to network and connect donors with causes that are needing. So I said to him, I said, do you look for, I knew he was at this occasion because he gives to them. If you're not there because you just happen to walk by, you're there because you bought a ticket, and you're there because you're a donor and you're coming to celebrate. So I said to him, do you look for additional tzedakah opportunities? And he smiled. And he said, no, and let me tell you why. So he felt safe. He felt safe to tell me no. He said, well, the reason why I don't is because I'm building a house over here. In the meantime, I'm living over here. The shliach over here is building a shul, so I have to give a nice donation there. I just gave the down payment for my brother-in-law's Chabad house. I have to help my parents because they're on shlichus. And I got to make sure I save something for my own house. And then other randoms come up all the time. So I'm not really looking for additional. And I looked at him and I said, God bless you. It's so beautiful to see how you take what Hashem gives you and you share it so plentifully. And he said, yeah, of course. And it was a wonderful conversation. So I bring that in over here. I didn't put him on the spot. I didn't say, I need you to do more. I didn't say, if you don't give to what I'm asking you for, you're a shloch. I'm just poking around. Is this something you might want to do? Now, I've asked that question to people who tell me, yeah, absolutely. And there's actually, I was given the opportunity to help pay for a certain bacher's yeshiva tuition. And I shared it with a friend, and he's paying the tuition. And last week he came to me and said, what's that bacher doing next year? Because if he's staying in that yeshiva, my wife and I talked it over, we want to continue paying his tuition. So I reached out to the parents of this bacher and I said, do you know what your son's plans are? Because these people approached me to say they want to do more. How does that happen? Where does that come from? It comes from me being willing to go and approach somebody in a menschliche way to find out, do you want to do something like this? Would you like to? So going back to the question, Ms. Cohen, if you're asking, it looks like you're asking on behalf of somebody else. Did I answer the question to that person's satisfaction? Or is there something more that needs to be clarified here? And while we're waiting for a response there, any other specific questions? A thumbs up. Okay, thumbs up. So thank you for the feedback. Anything else? I'm not in a rush. I also want to honor everyone's time. Any other specific questions that I can be helpful with?
So I guess one of the questions I hasn't been asked yet, but I feel like could be asked is, what's a good way of knowing how to prepare for the calls? Like how to, I know that for myself, sometimes if I spend all this time like, oh, should I call this person? Should I not call this person? Should I message them? It ends up taking, I quote unquote fundraise for an hour, but really I've made 2 calls. So
Right.
what's a good way to like prepare for the 48 hours?
My non-traditional answer is, okay, there you go. Say psukim, beautiful. You beat me to it. And my non-traditional answer is get some sleep, study Torah, eat really well, like eat the food that doesn't make your head spin. And when you're ready to make the calls, do the equivalent of 25 push-ups, whatever that is for you in your life. Whether it's finger exercises or breathing exercises or sit-ups or jumping jacks or something, get your blood pumping. Hashem has given us a gift called the body. And when we move our body, we push it a little bit past its comfort zone. Somebody who knows more about the human anatomy than I do can give you the exact terms, but something releases in our head, in our brain. It brings positivity, it brings courage, it brings it to the surface. You stand up, you stretch your arms, you lift your arms, you make yourself an open keli, and you just go. If you do this in the company of a girlfriend, and it's a couple young ladies doing this together, and you're cheering each other on, it's great. The 48 hours of the campaign kind of lends itself to a little bit of a pressure cooker. And it's funny because we want to be calling from a place of calm. Like there's no urgency that this has to happen and you have to be the one. But there is an urgency because we're doing it during these 48 hours. So Hashem set it up. This is when it's happening. This is when you picked up the phone. So I'm going to be passing somewhat of it's timely for now message on. Just trust in the Eibishter. Trust in the Eibishter and relax. I know people who keep a wonderful picture of the Rebbe nearby and they smile and they say, Rebbe, please give me koyach to do the next call. And they pick up the call. Some people keep a pushkin nearby and they drop a nickel in the and they put in the pushkin before each call and say, Hashem, please give me the koyach to make the next call. When you make a call and you get through, it's wonderful. At the end of the conversation, if they gave, ask them to bless you. If they didn't give, ask them to bless you. That blessing will give you more courage to make the next call because you're perfectly good at receiving blessings. You're very good receiving blessings. And if I leave off on a positive note, I'm encouraged to go down the next one as well. There's another little nugget here at the end of the conversation. Let's say somebody gives, either on the spot, they say they're going to give, then you can ask them a beautiful shliach question. I just spoke to you and you did good. I say, who amongst your family and friends might want to follow your beautiful lead and give to this campaign? Oh, you know what? My sister, I think, would. Or my brother would, or my mother would, or my friend was. Great. Would you share the link with them and tell them you just gave, and would they consider giving a gift as well? Oh, you know what? Sure, I'd be happy to do that. So you never know where that goes because you drop I'll answer the question that came in privately in a second. You drop that positive gesture out there and it's going to travel. It's going to have a ripple effect. You'll see names show up in this campaign and nobody will be able to track like, how on earth did it get to them? Well, one of the young ladies finished the call by saying, did you have a positive experience? Who do you know that would like to do what you just did? And you gave them permission to go ahead and share it. How to ask for a blessing is at the end of the conversation, let's go positive first. Yeah, but be happy to. Can I give you my credit card? Sure, put it in for $180 a month for the next 12 months. It would be beautiful. Rebbitzin smiles. She likes that concept. And they say, before you go, can I ask you one more question? Yes. Now, when you do that, when you say, can I ask you one more question? Most people's brains are trained to think, oh, here we go. She's about to come and tell me that she's not satisfied. I didn't give enough. She's going to ask me another question. That's where their brain goes. So when they say, can I ask you one more question? There's like a little head, yeah, I guess. You're opening the door and say, can you give our continued effort for this campaign a bracha for success? Absolutely. Bracha and Atzlacha and Mashiach and Geula and Shidduchim and whatever they're going to dump on you. You say, oh man, that was wonderful. I'm so glad I asked. And on the same side, somebody tells you, I really wish I could, but I can't. Or I can't, or I don't want to, whatever it is. can I ask you one more question before you go? They say yes. Say, can you please bless our efforts for success? You'll actually see, in one of my journeys with a young shliach, fundraising in Crown Heights, on his way out to shlichus, I taught him how to embrace the no. And every time in 770 he asked somebody to give and he got a no, he turned to that person and smiled from ear to ear and blessed him like the guy just dropped $10,000 on him. Every time he did that, it brought in a gift. The smallest amount it brought was a $1. The biggest amount it brought was $100. So the no, he embraced the no and gave them brachas. I don't know if he asked them for a bracha, but he gave them brachas, and they couldn't help themselves but come back with support. Can I ask where the blessing came from? I'm not sure what that means. So if you don't mind either taking the mic or clarifying with a text, so I could better understand.
Are you up for another question?
Where the bracha idea come? Like the idea to give them, it's actually from the Rebbe. If I'm not mistaken, the Rebbe told in certain cases on Tzayim, the Rebbe, nobody wants to be a receiver. So if you give somebody a menorah, the Rebbe actually teaches us, ask them for $1, because if they pay for it, they'll value it, and they feel like they just bought something, not that they received something. So I took the concept and said, the whole idea, when we reach out to somebody, our job is to be makar of them. This has not, the fact that you're going to reach out to people during this campaign has nothing to do with Living Chassidus. This has to do with that the Mesabev HaSibis, the Eibishter, planned it that on this time, on this day, this person needs to hear from you. Your goodness, your sweet voice, the cause that you represent. This has nothing to do with, it's nothing to do with your brains and your choice. The Eibishter set it up for you to be there to uplift that person's day. So how am I going to make sure that no matter what happens here, I'm going to uplift their day? When I ask somebody to either share with me a word of gratitude or to say to them, before we go, can you show me a word of gratitude? And I do it all the time. If I'm hanging up with customer service, anything else we can do for you today? As a matter of fact, yes. What's that? Can you tell me something good that happened to you today? And it's usually like, oh, wow. And you're like, here, they're having this, you hear them having an awareness on the phone, like, yeah, you know what? I woke up. Yeah, isn't that a blessing? Sure is. It's great. So now ask the next person you talk to something good that happened to them. You're making them, you're turning them into an ambassador to just recognize the Eibishter, and they feel good. And that's where this idea comes from. When you give another Yid a bracha, you feel good. I hope, did I answer your question? Okay. Another question. How you give a bracha, not just ask them to give you one. How do you give a bracha? You open your heart and you say a prayer to Hashem. Hashem, please put the right words into my mouth that will speak to their heart and give them what they need in this moment. And you can say that right now. That bracha, if you can pray in English. I give you permission. I do it with rabbis all the time. You can ask God to put the right words in your mouth to touch people's, and Hashem's words will work through you. It always does. I can never say the word that God doesn't want me to say. It's just the way Hashem runs this world. But when I think about it, and I say this to a person, so here, I'll give you a contrast. I've got a pet peeve. If I could remove the word awesome from the language, from the dictionary, I would. If I could remove the word amazing, all these other descriptive words, or the word wow, if I could take it out of text messaging, I would. Why? Because that's my way of saying absolutely nothing. And words are meant to create communication. So when somebody says, you know what, you caught me, this happened earlier this week. I was talking to Shliach today. He told me that a fellow walked into his office earlier this week and dropped an $18,000 check on his desk. He said, I'm going to be doing a lot of business in your city, and I know about Chabad, and I want to support. He did a little Googling after the fellow left, and apparently New York City gave this guy a $160 million contract at the beginning of COVID or something like that. He was flying private, and it wasn't a short flight from New York, but it was a token gesture. what do you tell a person when they do that? And we don't have to get excited about 18,000. It could be $18. When somebody gives tzedakah, we want to honor them for what they just did. If I say the typical, oh, you're so amazing, that's so wonderful, you made my day, they're sitting there thinking, how on earth did you just make this about you? How'd you just steal my thunder? You called me to give me an opportunity to do something good. This is my moment. This is my moment. How did you just steal it by saying, and why are you telling me how awesome I am? You don't know how awesome I am. What you're saying is you're making my life easier because you said yes to my request. So I'm telling you, you're awesome. But they're not doing this to make your life easier. So what do? Let's go with a little bit of, bring in a little bit of emotional intelligence and communication skills on steroids. What do I say? I go to reflective mode. And I can say something like, let's say they give you a gift, $18. And again, you try this with any amount because it doesn't make a difference. It's if they're giving it out of love, that's what we're honoring. Obviously, the Rebbetzin and the Rabbi, it's got the campaign has to add up, but we don't have to we don't have to tone it down just because it's a smaller amount. I say, before you go, can I share something with you? A little vulnerable here. They might say, no, that's creepy. But chances are, if I say, before you go, do you have another minute? I want to share something. They say, okay, go ahead. I say, I told the Weisses that I'm gonna help out with the campaign because I knew I would meet people who would say, we'd love to. And I'm talking to one of those people right now, and this is such a blessing. Thank you for giving that gift. Tell me what you're going to trigger in their heart. Compare that to, oh, you're amazing. And when you go to that place of just sharing a little bit of a personal reflection, it happens where people will hear that from you and say, you know something, you're so sweet, and this feels so right. I think I'm going to go back on and give another gift. And what are they saying? They're saying it felt good to give the gift because that's the way Hashem wired us. And the way you're interacting with me post-gift is making me feel even better. I don't want this to stop. And how do I make sure it doesn't stop? I give again. I was studying someone's campaign with them 2 days ago, and they were laughing. There was a donor who over the 48 hours of a campaign gave 5 times. Same person. They couldn't stop themselves. I don't know. I never spoke to the donor. I don't know who called them, what language they used, but it was just really neat. They gave, they must have liked it. They got hooked on it because these campaigns are designed to hook us and keep us refreshing the button and not sleep and not eat, not learn, because you got to see who has the next big gift, which by the way, plan to daven and learn and eat and sleep and take time with your friends during the campaign. It just leads to more bracha. But when the person is feeling good about it, they come back for the next dose of good feeling. So once that's your bracha. Once you give them that reflection, they're going to respond from a place in their heart. And then you can say to them, I'd like to bless you with the kayach, the power of the Chodesh of Adar, for a lot of mazel, a lot of nachas. And I hope you follow, what Living Chassidus does throughout the year, because I think you're going to have tremendous nachas from what you're investing in. Like, oh, great idea. Oh, okay, yeah, you know what? Send me the emails. Tell me what's going on. And by the way, is there anything else I can do to help out? Do you need a host for a Shabbos meal? Do you need money other times during the year? Why would somebody go here? Because they're feeling respected. Now, there are a lot of people out there who don't do this, and I don't debate this in public, but there's a lot of people out there who are Russian fundraisers. I don't mean that in a bad way. If anybody's from Russia, that's not what I mean. But there's a certain brutality. You owe it to us, and we're going to grab it from you, and we're going to drop the guilt bombs on you, and we're going to steal it from you, whether you like it or not. Okay, I hear. And maybe it worked. There was a time where shluchim would rip up checks and slam bottles of mashka on the table. That's not what this is. That's not what this is. This is bringing Mashiach to them through the phone call, bringing them an elevated, godly, happy, friendly experience that uplifts them. Tell me if I answer the question about the bracha.
That was so powerful. Someone asked me if I could ask you,
Sure.
if you ever get nervous fundraising now that you're a coach, and do the nerves ever go away?
It's a great question. I'm going to answer it like this. In my journey on Shlichus, I always showed up in communities where the red carpet was laid out for me. I showed up in Toledo after Rabbi Shem Tov was there for 13 years. I showed up in Pittsburgh, and I took over Chabad Youth, and I was able to build things up. So up until I started coaching, I never really had the start from scratch experience. As a bacher in Pittsburgh growing up, it would take me 20 minutes every Friday to just get myself psyched up to speak to anybody on Murray Avenue in front of the kosher store. And by the time I got there, I couldn't differentiate between white, black, Hispanic. I just asked everybody. And my friends like, Shmuly, don't you see he's black wearing a cross? I said, I can't filter. If I stop the filter, I'm just gonna have to go home. That was me. I was going to Mitzrayim on Sukkot. So I live in Boynton Beach, Florida, and 2 doors up is a Jewish family. So I didn't go to them first because I know the mother's a little bit cold and the dad is always very busy. I went to the neighbor around the corner where I know the little kids. I went there because a chassid has to go Mitzrayim on Sukkot. I'd much rather be in my sukkah Farbrengen than go knocking on people's doors if I wasn't invited in. I come back and there's still 20 minutes to Shkia, so I have to go to my neighbor. As I start approaching the door, the voices start. He's not going to open the door. He's not going to be happy to see you. Even if he is, his wife's not going to be happy to see you. Don't bother. And I chuckled and I said, okay, I hear you. And there's only one thing I'm allowed to do here. There's only one thought I'm allowed to entertain here. He's a Jew, and the Rebbe wants us to do mitzvahs with yidden on Sukkot. He's going to be happy to see you. And I went forward and I knocked. No answers. Like, great, I'm off the hook. I said, but not so fast. Not so. That's it. That's what. Just one knock. So I knocked again. The second knock, the dogs heard me. The dogs hear me. The owner hears me. He comes to the door. He knew what the lulav and esrog was. I said, "Happy Sukkot. Let's do a blessing." He's like, "Okay, okay." Yeah, like a little. Okay. I give him a yarmulke, makes the bracha. I said, "Would your wife like to follow your lead?" He turns around, he's about to call her name, and then he goes cold and said, she's doing the dishes. I said, great. Tell her we said happy holiday. And can I knock again tomorrow? Sure, anytime. I didn't get through again the rest of the Yom Tov. But coming back to this, I have to, of course I get nervous. Of course I get nervous. I'm not insensitive, but this is where we pull in our tools. When I get nervous, I say, what's nervous? Nervous is, I'm afraid of a no. Why am I afraid of a no? Are they going to hurt me? I have not yet met a shliach who ended up in the hospital because they made a fundraising call. Nobody climbed to the phone and punched them in the face. I've heard of bruised egos because people made themselves the ask. It's nothing to do with me. I'm a humble servant of Hashem coming to help me do a mitzvah. So the nerves, when I feel the nerve, I have to pull on my training. What's the training? That's what we started with. Think positively about the call. Think about what the benefit will happen. If I make this call and somebody says yes, who's going to benefit? First of all, me. There will be a thriving organization. Second of all, them, or maybe first them, then me. And I'll be thrilled to respond to the Rabbi and Rebbitzin, and then my girlfriends, they'll be happy as well. We'll be cheering each other on. It takes koyach. To tell you that I have no nerves is silly. To tell you that I have higher developed thought patterns so that I can look at the scenario and say, what's the nerve? Where's it coming from? That's the Yetzer Hara. You know what, buddy, have a seat over there. Let me put my bitachon message into place and make the call. And you will absolutely be fascinated how well it works. You picture positive, you're gonna get positive. That's my personal story. I coach shluchim into making very large asks. And what's interesting is the guys who really find the Eibishter through fundraising, no joke. I have rabbis tell me I never thought I'd come to bitachon through a fundraising coach. And then they say it straight up. I don't know how you fundraise without bitachon. You can go to the greatest fundraising coaches in the world, all the gimmicks and all the systems and all the hacks. That's some person decided that, but that's not the Eibishter. And we never want to put the Eibishter, we never want to move the Eibishter out because I have to follow the system. This is what the coach told me to say. What did the coach know? But if you follow the truth of what the Eibishter tells us, how to interact with people and trust in Hashem, it's going to work. Take a deep breath. Was Nachshon ben Aminadav nervous before he jumped? I would imagine a little, maybe he didn't have time for nerves. But it's interesting. One of my, two of the models that I like to think about here. One of them is the Entebbe raid. I don't know if anybody's familiar. In 1976, Air France plane was hijacked, and Israeli launched a rescue mission to save them. Their motto was failure is not an option. And I just told the story to my boys on Shabbos. I was born right before this happened, so I kind of feel a close attachment to it. But their motto was failure is not an option. And there was one nisayon after the next, one challenge after the next, and failure wasn't an option because there were 120 some lives on the line, and failure simply wasn't an option. So I like to think about that failure is not an option. What does failure mean? We started this. What's a failed campaign? The campaign that never started. The campaign where the director says there are too many unknowns, so I'm not going to bother, and I'll just get credit card bills, and then I'll go broke, and then I'll whimper off to the side and say nobody cares about my organization because I'm afraid to face the music. That's a failed campaign. But a campaign that launches with an ambitious goal and gets lots of good people involved to get the message out there, it can't fail. Success doesn't mean I reach the number of the campaign goal. Success means I'm working on it, and I'm continuing to reach out and continuing to make Kalim. And as long as I know that, I'm gonna succeed. The other message that I like to pull of is, some of you might remember this, a couple of years back, there was a plane, I don't know which airline it was, that landed in the Hudson River. It took off from, I don't know, JFK or LaGuardia, ran into a bunch of birds, and it shut the engines down. They were going to land somewhere in New Jersey, Teterboro. They couldn't get that far, and they landed in the Hudson. And at the time, I was fascinated with what the pilot had said after he landed. Somebody said to him, he said, "What did you do?" He said, "The first thing I did was I realized what was happening. I turned to my co-pilot and I said, I've got control." And he said, "You've got control." I took ownership of it. So then he said, "Did you pray?" I said, "No. I had 147 people behind me praying. I used every ounce of training in my entire life to focus on keeping the wings even, and all the he had flown planes for the Army, using all my training up until that day to land this plane safely in the water, as I knew I could." So you go back to, we're in a campaign. Should I pray? Don't pray. Make another phone call. Of course you're praying as you call. Make another phone call because you were brought to this day, however old you are, somewhere between, I'm guessing, 15 and 45. Did I play it safe? And you have your life's experiences with all your goodness. Hashem brought you to this organization. You courageously said, I'm going to help them be matzliach. That means from the moment you were born till now, you were training for this next phone call. Not a bad thought. Guys, somebody says to you, "How long have you been practicing for?" "Oh, 22 years. Geez, that's a long time. Yeah, well, I mean, since Hashem put me here, but when I think about that, Hashem put me here, Hashem gives me the tools to get the job done. There was a very interesting correspondence between Rebbetzin Gerelik in Italy and the Rebbe in the early years of her shlichus, where she more or less, as an American girl, a unique American girl, she bemoaned to the Rebbe that she doesn't feel she has the qualifications to get the job done. And the Rebbe wrote back to her, I'm paraphrasing, to question your ability as a shlucha is to question the judgment of the one who sent you. And you surely don't intend to do that. So I think about it. I'm nervous in the moment. Okay, it's okay to be nervous. I don't know what's coming. It's okay to be nervous. Nervous doesn't mean I'm bad. take a deep breath. Hashem's with me. Hashem brought me here intentionally. We had a little Farbrengen Thursday night. Get some nice ideas floating around my head. I know I can do this. God knows I can do it. I'm going to do it. And then what happens is you do it and you have a positive experience. You tell yourself, I could do that again. And if it doesn't go so great, we say, that was one of the times it didn't go so great. I'm going to mark that off in the not so great column and then go find another great one. And I think Kronites has Atzalah. So if something really wacky happens and you do get physically injured, call them. They'll come get you. So Rebbetzin, how are we doing? Did we cover what you wanted? Is there anything else I could elaborate on?
That was wonderful. That was absolutely perfect. And I think it gave us a lot of guidance and a lot of chizuk. Maybe, do you mind ending off in a non-Hatzalah note?
Yes. If you find yourself hanging up the phone and taking the young lady next to you and just dancing because you're so excited to see people respond with joy, and you're like, yeah, that's what he was talking about. That's like so cool. Let's do that again. Allow yourself to do it again. Don't call people at crazy hours. I'm a big fan of when you call, if you call and you don't get through, leave a message. Leave a short, brief, hi, this is Shmuly calling from Living Chassidus. We're having a campaign for the next 48 hours, reaching out to family and friends to give them an opportunity to participate in the really outstanding work that I benefit from and my friends benefit from. Please give me a call back, and I'll try you again later as well. Leave them that message. So for the people in this world who do listen to voice messages, they hear you're not afraid of your own shadow, and you're perfectly okay saying that, and they'll know what you want. I'm also a fan of then following up with a text message. You end off, and I'll send you a text. You might see that sooner. And that same idea, a short little message. You say, hi, so and so. Just left your voice message. Thought you might see this sooner, and you leave the text. You don't put in the link for the campaign because we asked them. We didn't tell them you have to do this. I'm not taking for granted that they want to. I'm asking them a question. The easier I make it for them to say no, the more comfortable they are to say yes. It's a natural human instinct, and you'll see that there will be people who will show up after the campaign is over to give, because there's a mentality out there that is, oh, now that they don't need me to give, that's when I want to give. Hashem's got campaigns are designed for people wired. Some want to be the first, some want to be the biggest, some want to be the last, some want to be when they don't need me anymore. I'm going to show up and give. So get your dancing shoes ready. Make sure you have a l'chaim handy. Have fun blessing people. Have fun asking for blessings. Keep a little journal of what was fun about this experience. And if you can do it in a group, it's great. How's that? Is that a little flip side to the...
That was perfect. And I think, I think we're pumped. We're excited. Everybody's invited to come we're doing a call center together. We're feeding everyone every meal. So they're being fed. I'm sorry?
This is Wednesday morning through Thursday night?
It's Sunday and Monday.
It's coming Sunday, Monday.
Yeah, Sunday, Monday.
Okay, good. Is there a WhatsApp group for everybody that's participating?
That is something that's being built. I mean, right now, I think everyone's on the main WhatsApp group, but. So
cheerleaders are phenomenal. Cheerleaders make such a difference when somebody has a positive experience, and them to say, hey, I made a great call, I'm feeling good, or a nice number shows up. And, we're not really highlighting the number, but it's just excitement. People work off excitement, and that's our job. Our job is to let the positivity flow forth and allow people to be attracted to it.
I love it. Let's do this.
Okay.
I'm excited. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you for the opportunity, and I hope this was helpful. And if the recording could benefit those who weren't able to make it tonight, but could watch it and gain some inspiration as well, by all means, that's what it's about.
Awesome. Thank you so much, and thank you so much for everyone who joined. It's Hashem, let's do this. Let's celebrate.
Okay. Thank you. It should be a lot of hatzlacha and a lot of simcha. It's Chedesh Adar. So I don't know how you say party on in Yiddish, but you'll translate it for me.
Awesome.
That's everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Good night.